Okay, so today's lesson is from the state of Georgia going from a confederation to constitution. So, unrelated, our opening for today is, was Georgia a Confederate state? The answer? The answer? Yes. But now, the reason why I did this opening is people will kind of get you confused when you're saying, well, what is a confederation? They probably get confused when they ask, what is a confederation? You'll probably think of the confederation as, don't know, maybe the Confederate States there's probably something to do with the Confederate States. As you know, because Georgia was one of the 16 states that broke off and formed the United Confederate States of America, but was brought back due to the Civil War. That was Georgia. But this is a whole different confederation. This took place in 1776. This is when the Constitution was signed here by the founding fathers of the United States. So that's when Georgia became a U.S. state. So, and that will be our lesson today. Please open your textbooks to the ordered page of 290 and thank you. Georgia from Confederation to Constitution. Several years later, Georgia and 12 other states lived under their first experiment in self-government, a confederation. They had problems, however, with money, trade, and relationships with other countries with Native Americans whose nations was within the state's own borders. During this confederation period, Georgia began rebuilding the destruction caused by the Revolutionary War and the exodus of the Loyalists. British officials and slaves. Part of the rebuilding was to try to solve the state's problems of finances, land, and Native Americans. So here's exactly how you would say, here's how this was done. The Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation was the way government operated, was an outline of the way government operated, in the document that established it. So, when you have a confederation for much of the American Revolution, because see, this confederation period, it was under the Confederation government. This was the whole United States. Because for much of the American Revolution, the government of the U.S. has been the Second Continental Congress in 1871. After years of negotiation concerning overlapping claims to the land west of the Appalachian Mountains, the states had formed a confederation. In the confederation was a power to govern remained mainly in the states. The central government was limited to certain actions needed by the whole group. the way government operated that was outlined in the document that was established is called the Articles of Confederation. So, we're not the only one that did this, though. A whole lot of these states, though, did this. This is La Florida, so we can forget about La Florida. Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, all of both of these states used to be one. But because of the whole breakup between Confederation and the abolitionists in the North of slavery, you can see how it just get divided right here. So now it's West Virginia and Virginia. It used to all be Virginia. And then you have Delaware, Pennsylvania, never used to heard of New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. Those were all originally on that document to become the United States of America. All of this, though, however, didn't exist yet. And Alaska, can forget about these two because this is our newest state here. The oldest state, Pennsylvania. Georgia, this is where they settled. Savannah was about here. This is where Savannah was. This is where they start settling. So, you can see how things have really changed over the region. Now, let's get back to the teaching area. Okay, so the Confederation have no executive branch of government because the ex-colonies remember the executive power of the king and royal governors. Also, there was no court system. Remember the original laws of Georgia during the trustee period? No lawyers, no land ownership, no rum, and no slaves. Those four are the typical rules in Georgia. So now they didn't have a court system like they do now. There was no court system. Judicial functions were handled within each state. The government was a unicameral. Let's break that word. Caramel would be house of government. That's what the word caramel is. Uni means one. That's why they say unicycle. Unicycle have one wheel. Uni means one. Bi means two. Just for your reference. So it was a unicameral, one house legislation that worked by forming committees to deal with specific tasks. So they're almost running the country like they would run some churches. So they have committees to deal with certain things. One person is in charge. There's only one area. There's no different people do different things. Different committee do different things. But as far as leaders, there's only one group of leaders. Now you have this whole, you could do this, but you have to get everybody else's approval. Georgia's government. At the end of the war, Georgia's government was based on the Constitution of 1777. The state still did not have an executive branch. Executive powers was shared by a governor and a council. The executive branch was still weak, though. The governor had no veto or pardon power. The legislature holds all the power, just like Parliament in Great Britain. Unicameral. Oh, we just went over it. What document established the first government of the United States? The document that established the first government of the United States was the Constitution of 1777. and the Articles of Confederation. Mainly the Articles of Confederation based on the text on page 297. Which tribe resisted ceding land to the state of Georgia? So let's go look at that. Turn back to page 298. Okay, so the name of the tribe that did not want to give up its land was called the Cherokee. It was a Cherokee tribe. The Creek, however, did give up some of their land, but not all. So as you could see here, this is a map of Georgia. The name of the map. In 1795, map titled Georgia from the latest authorities shows Georgia when its western boundary was the Mississippi River. Between the Georgia counties of the Mississippi, almost all of the land is identified according to the Indian tribes that lived there in less than 40 years. The Indians would be almost completely gone. So that explains the whole Cherokee Indian thing. How did Georgia get money for its government? The state of Georgia hoped to get money through the sale of property confiscated from loyalists, especially rice planters. Money, however, was scarce. Even when those land was sold, payment was low. At this time, there was no income or sales tax. A tax on land was the main resource of income for the government. This is why I always talk, but if you're a kid, you don't get it. I kind of do because I take the time to figure these things out, but every adult knows about taxes because you have to pay them every year. The only taxes we have to pay is a sale tax. The only time a child have to pay taxes is when they go buy something at the store, then they have to pay the sales tax. Other than that, the income tax and the property tax, that's government, and that's one bill you can't pay because they're not gonna shut off. There's nothing to shut off. What are they gonna do? They're gonna throw you out your house, yes, but then they're not gonna just throw you out your house. They're gonna put you in jail. So that's exactly why you always hear people mentioning taxes. Okay, so I hope you got this lesson. And here's a summary. According to my summary, Louisville was chosen as the site of the state capital in 1758. The new capital of Louisville was named in honor of the French king who had been an ally in the War for Independence. A society in which status and power are inherited through the mother is called a matrilineal society. By the late 1700s, Creek had adopted many of the European way of living, as demonstrated by this Creek log cabin, modeled after the cabin built by white settlers. And that is my note for the day. Now for your closing. What was the first state capital? You have 15 seconds to answer. 14, 13, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 0. The state capital was Savannah. Okay, I hope you learned something. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you.